So good afternoon and welcome, and thank you for joining me on this webinar on Thornybush Game Lodges. I am delighted to say that the experience I'm bringing you is very up to date, because I actually was at Thornybush Game Lodge in Saseka just last week. So I am very excited about presenting on these clients of ours that I have just had the most amazing experience with. So really the three lodges for me, particularly being on safari in South Africa, I think for me, knowing Africa very well, being on safari in South Africa just ticks so many boxes in terms of the style, the sightings, the guiding, the food, and the people as well. It's just the most incredible experience. In terms of location, the three lodges are located in the Greater Kruger. So we have two in the Thornybush Game Reserve, and that is Saseka Tented Camp and then Thornybush Game Lodge. And Simbambili is based down in the Sabi Sands. So the easiest way to get to Saseka and Thornybush Game Lodge is to fly into Eastgate Airport or Hoedspruit Airport. And it's about just under an hour's transfer by car, or you can fly into the airstrip, which is the private airstrip right by the lodge. So super easy to get to. To be honest, the drive is good. The road is slightly more bumpy than it was last year, because they had such heavy rains in February that the road's a little bit more bumpy, but it's still a very comfortable, very, very easy drive. So it's really, really easy to get to. Saseka and Thornybush Game Lodge are located in the northern part of Thornybush, which is a really game-rich area. Down in the further south within the reserve is slightly more dense bush and less vehicles. So actually it's harder to find the game than it is up where we are. And then Simbambili is located in the Sabi Sands, so the northern part of the Sabi Sands. So the Sabi Sands is very well known for its leopard population in particular. So that's the kind of key element or key game experience that guests can expect to have at Simbambili. But the three properties are our sister properties. We also used to have a property called Jackleberry, which they do still manage, but we actually, as more marketing, just represent these three properties, which are their more premium offering. So in terms of experience, we have the most phenomenal game viewing in the Thornybush Game Reserve. It is, I mean, when we were there last week, we saw all of the big five. It's just phenomenal experience. And it's, for first timers in particular, almost around every bend there's something to see, so you're always kept entertained. We're starting with Thornybush Saseka Camp, which is our tented camp, which Thornybush as a game lodge, as a lodge, was one of the first lodges to open in the Greater Kruger about 60 years ago. But actually, this is one of the newest camps. This opened about 2.5 years ago, and is one of the only tented camps in the Greater Kruger area. It's the most stunning design. It's designed by Silvio Rex, who also designed North Island and Mombo Island in Botswana, and is just absolutely beautiful. As you'll see here, the whole style of it is very much about the natural world. So it's lots of wood, lots of stone, lots of water. There are 9 tents in total, and then our tent we call Little Saseka, which has got a main bedroom area, then a separate dining sitting room area as well. And Little Saseka is the only one that actually accepts children in Saseka. The rest of the tents we only have allow adults in. So this is just a short video of the main entrance, which is just the most spectacular location overlooking the dry riverbed, and just quite a kind of, you know, dramatic entrance with this beautiful interior design, very high ceilings, lofty, lots of, as I mentioned, lots of water, lots of rocks, very kind of natural vibe to it, and just very, very peaceful. And actually a lot of game around here. There's a little Nyala that comes when we had dinner here and breakfast here. She was just there, just eating, very relaxed, very, very close to us. That's the actual gift shop. And then these beautiful hanging elements that are mirrored as well. So you have this amazing kind of calming experience. And the interior design is very much a mixture of old and new. So a lot of the interiors actually were sourced from antique shops. That hammock is, that green thing there is actually hammock, which is very cool, very Instagrammable. And then there's a beautiful table, which you have an image of later on, that actually has, in fact, you can see it here on the left-hand side, imprints of the plants from the area that they made into a table. So the interior design is just phenomenal. These are some more images of the area. So you see it's very kind of quite, the influence for the design was almost going back to the Greater Kruger's heritage, and using that kind of old, almost colonial style furniture, lots of old leather chairs, lots of old wooden tables. They had an absolute field day doing the interiors in this property, because it's just so varied and so beautiful, but also mixed in with this very kind of modern contemporary vibe as well. And this is the table I mentioned here with the plant imprints in them, which also echoes a really cool design in the room that I'll show you a bit later. So Saseka is located, like Thornybush Game Lodge, they're actually located on the same dry riverbed, but around the bend from each other. So guests have no idea the two properties are so geographically close to each other. And in Saseka in particular, they really use the dry riverbed a lot. So they come down here for pre-dinner drinks. They'll often, 2 nights a week, they'll do a dining experience down on the dry riverbed. It's just lovely having the space in front of you, and all the design is, all the tents and the communal areas are designed overlooking the dry riverbed. The food is very much Ottolenghi in style. Lots of gorgeous different salads and much more light platters for lunch. And then dinner is actually a 5-course menu. You don't have to have all 5 courses. One of the courses is soup. So you have starter, soup, main, dessert, and then cheese. But obviously, if your guests don't want to have all 5 courses, they don't need to. But dinner is more formal, kind of a la carte, and a bit less kind of the platters that you get more for lunch. But the food is absolutely sensational. And as I mentioned, you often have a little guest that's nearby within the ala, just munching away on the grass whilst you're having your breakfast. So these are the tents in themselves. So there are 9 in total. And this is a video of a walkthrough of the tents. So each of the tents have their own plunge pool. They're all exactly the same. Even Little Saseka, the tent itself is the same. The key difference in Little Saseka is a separate dining sitting room area. So you have this lovely bar area on the right-hand side, desk area, and just really cool rattan linens. The colours are just sensational. Really lovely pale greens and pinks. And then this big open bathroom where the doors you can open them up to bring the outside in if you want to, or obviously close them if you'd like to at night. And they have a separate loo area as well, with which is separate to the bathroom, so it's not so open. And then you also have the outside shower area as well, and this beautiful plunge pool and little lounge area. So if guests wanted to have dinner in their main room themselves rather than coming up to the main area, that's absolutely no problem. The team can easily organise that for them. So really, really big, spacious, but really cool contemporary rooms. And then, yes, just some more images of the rooms. So as you can imagine, it's very popular with influencers, very Instagrammable. So it's, just the most sensational spot. And actually, one of the guests when I was there last week said that sleeping in the beds at Saseka is like sleeping in a cloud. The beds are so big and fluffy, and it just feels like you are disappearing into this cloud. It's incredible. And actually, when we were there one morning, I didn't want to go on a game drive because we'd had quite a lot of game drives the previous 2 weeks, and I just wanted to sit and enjoy our room. And I was just lying in my bed on my laptop, and then amazingly, this pack of wild dogs just literally ran down the dry riverbed right in front of my room, followed by 2 hyenas. So I actually had the game coming to us, which our guide had said to me the night before when I asked him if he'd minded if I took the following game driver, morning game driver miss. He said often guests do this and game comes to them. So that was really quite, the icing on a cake of what had been an incredible stay. Just having the wild dog just trotting past in front of our room was just phenomenal. So you have this beautiful big steel bath and the screen between the bath and the rooms. And as you'll see from this design, what they did when they designed Saseka is they went through all the old records, all the archives, and they created this beautiful canvas on the ceiling, which actually showcases some of the old records. And they actually made one of them, this one here, into the screen for the screen between the bathroom and the bedroom area. So it's a really lovely kind of celebration of the history of this area, and particularly celebrating the flora and the fauna of the area as well. So you can see more clearly in this image the prints on the fabric on the ceiling. And this is the outside shower. And then occasionally you might need to share your pool with some very naughty residents that also appreciate the Saseka plunge pools. And I showed my kids this video and they absolutely loved it, because it was literally, if you watch the end, it is amazing. It is like watching them play in a pool. They are, very naughty. They've got very good taste in deciding to spend the afternoon just chilling in the plunge pool at Saseka. And the game experience, you don't always need to go on a game drive for the game to come to you. I just love that bomb, the dive bomb of the baboon into the water. And so this is Little Saseka. So Little Saseka is exactly the same bedroom space, but the thing that makes a difference is a much larger private area, much larger pool area and boma area, and they have a separate room as well, which is a lounge dining area. And this is the only area where kids are allowed in Saseka, because obviously they can have them. They've got much larger private area to keep away from the other guests. So this is the lounge sitting room area. So again, really beautifully styled, big kind of bar area, just a really cool party pad. Moving down to the Sabi Sands then, and Simbambili. So Simbambili, for those of you who know Swahili, you might notice that Simba is lion in Swahili and Mbili is too. And it actually came from a German explorer, apparently legendary, years ago. He got attacked by 2 lions, but survived. So they've called this area Simbambili. Simbambili is actually going to be renovated next year. But these is just, as I mentioned earlier, it's really, really well known for its leopard population. And this very, very clever leopard mum actually brought her cubs into, this was the manager's house. It's actually his shower that she brought her cubs into. For about 2 weeks, they lived there, which was a very smart move, because obviously no predators were going to risk coming into a house, a human house, to try and get their prey. So it was an incredibly clever move from the leopard. But there are a lot of leopards around this area. So if you've got clients that are really, really keen on seeing leopards, then this is the place to come. Again, a bit like the room, they do get, would you like to come and make themselves at home? This is the leopard lying in the boma area as well. But just like Thornybush, the game experience down in Sabi Sands is just off a scale. I think in terms of, really for first timers to Africa, this place is unbeatable, because they will see everything. They'll be kept engaged. The guiding is fantastic. There's no long safari drives where you're busy looking for an animal, which I love. But if you've only got one chance to go on safari and you want to see everything, then really this whole area is just unbeatable. So the room, there's 9 rooms again, so similar size to Saseka. All the rooms are the same price, beautifully styled, overlooking the bush, with a big decked area and plunge pool out the front. And just a really, really stunning, area for guests to lounge in. And then this is a beautiful boma area, or kind of viewing platform, overlooking the waterhole. And we always have lots of ellies in this area coming through. So this is a very classic site, sitting there having lunch with the elephants out front in the waterhole. Again, this is like Thornybush Game Lodge, where it's more buffet style, but again, very kind of ottolenghi, lots of delicious salads and veggies, very light. And then even breakfast out as well. Breakfast in the bush is an amazing experience as well. They have a boma, so they'll often do, every guest they'll do bush dining once a week, and they'll do boma dinners for every 3 nights. So you'll have two dinners in, and then you have 1 boma dinner. So that's how they rotate it. So every guest will get to experience the boma as well. And then they have a spa at Simbambili. But as I say, Simbambili is going to be undergoing quite major renovations and refurbishments next year. So coming back to Thornybush, we're now going to focus on Thornybush Game Lodge. This is more Simbambili and Saseka, probably the more kind of 5-star, and Thornybush Game Lodge is 4.5-star, very, very good for families, and slightly larger. So this is why I wanted to do this one last, because also they just had a major refurbishment, and so it looks very different to how it looked before. What they've done is they'd had 18 rooms before, and they've now gone down 16 rooms, and 2 of the rooms have been made into Kamara House, which is their new family house, which is just literally opened. And again, like Saseka, is overlooking the dry riverbed, so you always have game in front of the lodge. This is the main entrance area, and then the main bar restaurant area you can see just beyond. And then this is a terrace overlooking the riverbed. This is a beautiful library, which is really lovely for, particularly in winters. They can close all that the bit to the right, they can close up and have a big roaring fire. And it'll be so lovely in the wintertime just to have guests eating in there rather than on the terrace when it's a bit cooler. This is a beautiful bar area. And then their walkways have all been redone. The pool's been redone as well. And all the rooms have undergone a refurbishment. So it's looking very, very fresh and very new. So these are the rooms. So walking you into the room here, very, very cool, very unique wallpaper. This is actually wallpaper of Saseka, the leopard after which Saseka Tented Camp was named, with her cub. And all the rooms, very large glass front, so you can feel like you're kind of really in the bush when you're sitting in bed. And they have an outside shower area as well, which is totally open, and a lovely deck as well. So you can really feel that you are appreciating your surroundings because of all the big, large glass windows that you can see out and see the lovely views. So this is some other images of the new renovations, and refurbishments. So quite different in style, very cool and funky, lots of different patterns, beautiful big bathtubs, and really cool, lots of chrome and lovely kind of copper. And Saseka is really good for families in particular. This is where we would put our families. So I was there at Easter, and there are lots of families there, and they have a whole family program, and they are brilliant with kids. They take them off. I was chatting to a parents who had kids of age 4 and 6, and she was saying how much the kids love being taken off for an hour and a half every day, just going to do tracking or cookie making or whatever it may be. And obviously the parents love that as well. So Thornybush Game Lodge is really the prime area for families. This is our bush dining, which I mentioned earlier. So this happens once a week, and is a really cool experience. It's always a surprise to the guests. They turn up and you see beautiful candles everywhere, and suddenly it's all laid up to have dinner in the bush. And they'll often do that for sundowners as well, do a surprise sundowner. We also have a shop in Saseka and in Thornybush Game Lodge. And then this is Kamara House, their new family house. So this is 2 old rooms that they've actually converted now into a family room, a 3-bedroom family room. So the 2 rooms at the front have been totally gutted and redone. They are the 2 main bedrooms, and the 3rd bedroom here is actually the family room, well, the room you probably put kids in, because it's not quite as superior because it doesn't have the lovely views. And then they have a very clever design where this is actually one of the individual rooms, but for guests, when they have a booking that's maybe slightly larger, they can then incorporate that extra room into Kamara House. So you can actually potentially have four rooms. These are the kind of mood boards for Kamara House. But I also have these images which were sent through to me a couple of days ago from JB, our sales director. So this is it, pretty much finished. So this is the lovely lounge area, and then the seating area, the plunge pool, and the dining area. They haven't finished the bedrooms, they're still working on that, but we'll be getting the professional shots very, very soon. So that will be very exciting to be able to show you that. So just quickly going through the rates. These are the rates for the different properties, but I will send this all through to you in my follow-up email. We also have a 3 nights at the price of 2 that runs from January to June. So that's a really competitive offer as well. But as I say, I'll send this all up in my follow-up email. So in terms of the game experience and the guiding here is just phenomenal. Each vehicle has a tracker. You have 6 people to a vehicle because they only allow up to maybe 2 vehicles per sighting, sometimes 3 if it's a unique sighting. So they are very limited on the number of vehicles that are allowed on a sighting, which is great because it means that you don't have that very kind of crowded, hectic images you see in other parts of Kruger. But it does mean that guests have to share a vehicle, but actually it's lovely because they get to know each other. It's always very kind of fun having new people on the vehicle, and they always will match guests well. So if it's a family where they won't put them with a older couple or there's vacant photographers, they'll match them. And the game viewing there is just absolutely amazing. We saw 5 rhino, lots and lots of ellies. They dropped the fences between Thornybush Game Reserve and Kruger about 6 years ago, and it's totally revolutionized the safari experience. They now have herds of about 700 elephants in the area. The wild dog we saw. So lots and lots of game viewing. As I say, almost around every corner there's something to see. And so it's a really great option for guests who are first timers to Africa, or guests who have been before and appreciate the level of standard. And then they also do walking safaris. We have celebrations. We have a lot of celebrations in the area, and also it's just perfect for a wedding or obviously a honeymoon as well. And then lots of different photo shoots. So actually, JB's wife, Shara, is a photographer. So one of the things we're doing now is inviting guests to actually, if they wanted to have a photographer on safari with them to do some family shots. It's a really, really popular experience, as you can see why. I mean, it's stunning. And what better, way to capture your once-in-a-lifetime experience than to have a photographer with you. And then if guests want to know more about our community work we work very closely with a school nearby, and also a women's cooperative where they started growing veggies, particularly very, very popular through lockdown. They really supported a lot of the local local lodges supported them, but also local communities as well. And if guests want to get involved with that, go and see that. They're very welcome to. We have a community manager that works pretty much full time with all the projects. So there's a lot of information which I'll include in my follow-up as well. And then also we have our solar panels, so we are on our way to becoming 100% solar. So we're doing our bit. And then also anti-poaching. They have a canine anti-poaching unit, which guests again are welcome to go and see if they are in the area and they wanted to go and get that further insight into what goes on behind the scenes. So that is the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see if I've got any questions. Hopefully not. Hopefully I've gone through them all. But I will be doing a follow-up, and I will include all the information and also a copy of the presentation. And please ping me an email if you have any questions. We're very happy to answer it. But thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And hopefully get to see some of you at the trade shows coming up, both at Endava and We Are Africa. Thanks so much.